I walked out of the hotel, my hair a complete mess. Spotting a sleek black car parked on the corner, I stopped to fix it using the tinted window as a mirror. While I was struggling with a particularly stubborn strand of hair, the car window silently slid down. The man inside looked at me with cool amusement. "Wow, rough morning?" he said in a low voice. "That color really doesn't hide a thing, does it?" His audacity shocked me. "Piss off, jerk!" I spat out, then turned and walked away quickly, my messy hair flying behind me as I left him and his expensive car behind. Let me explain what led to this moment. The night before, I'd had too many drinks at a bar and ended up with a mysterious stranger. I don't remember much about him. Not his face, not his name. We went to a hotel room together, and when I woke up in the morning, he was gone without a trace. No note, no number, just the faint memory of his cologne. I told myself it didn't matter. It was just a one-night stand. But as I walked away from the car, my phone rang. It was my mother, and she sounded upset. "Hailey, your father and I need to talk. Can you come over? Now?" she asked, her voice strained. When I arrived at my parents' home, the atmosphere felt heavy and uncomfortable. They were sitting together on the worn floral couch, not meeting my eyes. My father finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Hailey, I took a loan from the Sterling Group, a big one. I can't pay it back." The Sterling Group was a massive corporation that had no connection to our lower middle class life. "Why would you go to them?" I asked, completely confused. He waved his hand dismissively. "The details don't matter. What matters is the terms of the loan. There's a marriage contract. You have to marry the CEO to settle the debt." I felt like the world had turned upside down. My own parents had essentially sold me to save themselves from financial ruin. That afternoon, I found myself in a sterile conference room high above the city, preparing to meet the CEO and sign the marriage contract. When the door opened, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was the same man from the car that morning, Charles Sterling. He showed no recognition as he looked at me. "Let's get this over with," he said coldly. "I have meetings." We signed the papers that made us husband and wife. As we stood, he moved close to me and whispered in my ear, "I will walk you for every penny, you hear me? No room for slacking." Later that day, I returned to my small apartment, packed my belongings, and took a taxi to his mansion that evening. The house was enormous and intimidating. Charles stood at the top of a grand staircase when I entered. "You will be staying in the servants' quarters at the back of the house," he stated firmly. "You will assist the domestic staff. Consider it your first installment on the debt." I had no choice but to nod in agreement. In my mind, I thought, what had my parents gotten me into? No one in the household knew we were married. Weeks passed with me performing various cleaning duties around the house. I rarely saw Charles, and when I did, he was usually accompanied by different beautiful women. Not like I cared, he never noticed my presence, and I was fine with that until one Tuesday, he arrived home with a woman named Zara. I was on my hands and knees scrubbing the foyer floor when they walked past. Zara's stiletto caught on my wet rag, causing her to stumble. "Do you want to break my leg?" she hissed at me. Then she turned to Charles and said in a sweet voice, "These servants are so useless," before they continued upstairs together. But I didn't pay it no mind. The next morning, I was watering the garden when Zara came out to leave. She got into her luxurious car and deliberately swerved through a large puddle, splashing muddy water all over me. I could hear her mean laughter as she drove away. I retreated to my small room and cried until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up feeling terrible, with a high fever making it difficult to move. Just as I was trying to get back into bed, I heard the service bell ringing and Zara calling my name. "Hailey, Hailey." I forced myself up and went to the kitchen. Zara was waiting there, looking annoyed. "There you are. All you people do is lounge around and eat. Why haven't you served me my morning tea?" she demanded. Before I could open my mouth to explain that I was sick, she raised her hand as if to slap me. I flinched, preparing for the impact. "That's enough." Charles's voice came from the doorway. Zara spun around angrily. "Charles, you are far too easy on her. She's lazy." He didn't even glance at me or pay attention to Zara. He just said, "I have a meeting. We have to leave," he said, brushing off her complaint. Zara snatched her purse from the counter. Before leaving, she turned back to me and whispered, "We aren't done here, Hailey," her eyes promising future trouble. As they left, I had no choice but to wonder, why would Charles save me? I didn't exist to him. But another thought crept into my mind. Maybe he isn't the monster I always perceived him to be. Maybe there's a kind soul beneath that icy armor put on my betrayal. The world did not fade so much as it shattered. The retreating click of Zara's heels, the lingering venom of her threat, the feverish thrum in my veins, it all coalesced into a single unbearable pressure behind my eyes. The kitchen tiles, cool and unyielding, rushed up to meet me as the light drained from the room, not like a sunset, but like a lamp being violently unplugged. Everything was dark, a deep, silent ocean of nothingness. From a great distance, a voice began to call, a fragile thread of sound weaving through the abyss. Hailey! Hailey! It was a familiar sound, a melody from a life I had almost forgotten. I fought my way back toward it, my eyelids heavy as stone slabs. I opened them to a world of blurry shapes and soft focus. A face swam into view, a face etched with such profound worry that it seemed to hold the weight of the world. It was Sam. My Sam. His kind eyes, usually crinkled with laughter, were now pools of anxiety. Sam? I croaked, my voice a stranger's. Hey, easy now, he whispered, his hands cupping my face. His touch was an anchor, a grounding force in my whirling reality. I heard... Your parents told me everything when I got into town. What in God's name is this, Hailey? This gilded prison? His gaze swept over the sterile, opulent kitchen, then returned to me, brimming with a fierce, protective love. Just say the word, and I'll clear this debt. I have the money, I don't care, we'll get you out of here. Tears welled in my eyes, hot and helpless. I shook my head, a slow, painful movement. I can't, Sam. I can't let you... Before I could finish, a new presence filled the doorway, casting a long, cold shadow over us. Charles stood there, his posture rigid, his eyes narrowed into shards of ice. The air in the room instantly chilled. His gaze flickered from my fever-ridden form on the floor to Sam's hands still cradling my face. Hailey! Charles's voice was a whip crack in the tense silence. Who is this? Sam, ever brave, stood to his full height, though he was still an inch shorter than Charles. I'm a good friend of hers. I was just in town and wanted to visit, to see how she was doing. You have no right to be here. Charles interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. This is a private residence. I would appreciate it if you left. Now. Charles, please, I pleaded, my voice trembling. I looked at Sam, my eyes begging him to understand. Please, Sam, go. Don't cause me more trouble. The hurt in Sam's eyes was a physical wound, but he nodded, his jaw tight. He gave my hand one last, reassuring squeeze before walking out, casting a final, worried glance over his shoulder. The moment he was gone, Charles turned his glacial gaze to me. Associates like that are not welcome here, he stated coldly. Consider that your final warning. He then left, and the silence he left behind was louder than any shouting. I dragged myself back to my room, a solitary cell in a palace of misery. Sometime later, a doctor arrived, summoned by a tersely worded call from Charles. He examined me with professional detachment, his stethoscope cold against my burning skin. After a few questions and a quiet test, he delivered the verdict that would once again tilt the axis of my world. Ms. Miller, he said, his voice neutral, you're pregnant. The word landed not with a gentle flutter, but with the force of a demolition ball. Pregnant. The calculations ran through my fever-hazed mind with dizzying speed. The only person I had been with was a mysterious stranger. The man from the hotel, the man whose face I couldn't remember, but whose consequences were now woven into the very fabric of my being, twice over. A secret bloomed inside me, a fragile, terrifying secret I had to protect at all costs. Weeks bled into one another once more, the monotony now underscored by a new, profound anxiety. I served dinner to Charles and Zara one evening, my hands trembling as I placed the plate before her. She peered at the food with disdain. Is this lean beef? She sniffed. No, ma'am, I replied softly, my eyes downcast. This is the cut sir prefers. The crack of her hand against my cheek was sudden, sharp, and shocking. The sting bloomed across my skin, a brand of her cruelty. Tears of pain and humiliation sprang to my eyes unbidden. But a voice cut through the chaos, colder and sharper than any slap. Zara! We both turned. Charles was standing at the other end of the long table, his knuckles white where he gripped the back of his chair. His face was a mask of controlled fury. This should be the first and last time you lay a hand on her, he said, each word measured and deadly. Zara's beautiful face contorted in outrage. Who is she to you, Charles? Why do you always protect this servant? Enough, Zara, he roared, the sound echoing in the vast dining room. You have no right to lay a hand on my wife. This is the first and last time you will try this. Now get out. The word wife hung in the air, a bomb that had finally detonated. My jaw went slack. Zara looked as if she'd been physically struck, her face pale with a mixture of shock and devastation. Wife! She whispered, her voice trembling with rage. She turned her venomous gaze to me. You? This wretch? Charles, you'll regret this. You'll regret betraying me. She fled the room, her sobs echoing in the hall. Charles did not watch her go. He simply turned and walked upstairs, leaving me alone amidst the ruins of the dinner, my cheeks still burning, my mind reeling. Wife! He had called me his wife. Zara was absent from the house for a time, a blessed, peaceful interlude, but peace in that house was a fragile illusion. One fateful afternoon, she returned, sweeping in as if she owned the very air, not deigning to glance my way as she marched upstairs. Charles was home. From the foyer where I was dusting, I could hear the low murmur of their conversation, her voice honeyed and pleading, saying she missed him, that she knew she'd been out of line. I heard the familiar, sickening sound of reconciliation, the closing of a door. They had settled. Later, she came downstairs to prepare a snack for him. I was still in the foyer, the dustcloth frozen in my hand. A sudden, metallic taste flooded my mouth, a wave of pregnancy-induced nausea. I moved toward the kitchen for a glass of water, my steps silent on the thick rug. The kitchen door was slightly ajar. I peered through the crack, and what I saw sent a jolt of pure ice through my veins. Zara, her back to me, was carefully sprinkling a fine white powder from a small vial into Charles's teacup. She stirred it quickly, her movements furtive and sharp. Poison. My mind raced, a frantic, terrified animal. Without a second thought, I fumbled for my phone, my hand shaking so violently I almost dropped it. I switched on the camera, zoomed in, and recorded the entire damning act. The evidence was now a digital secret, clutched in my sweaty palm. I retreated to the foyer, my heart hammering against my ribs, and pretended to be engrossed in my dusting. The moment she left the kitchen, carrying the tray with the tainted tea and biscuits upstairs, I acted. My fingers flew over my phone screen, sending the video to Charles with a single frantic message, "Don't drink the tea." She put something in it. I held my breath, waiting for the storm. It came seconds later, a loud, explosive noise from upstairs, the sound of a tray crashing, of Charles's voice, thunderous and enraged. Then the shrill sound of police sirens approaching, and Zara being led away in handcuffs, her face a twisted mask of fury and defeat. Later, after the chaos, I was summoned. For the first time, I was called upstairs into his inner sanctum, a home office that was a testament to power and wealth, all dark wood and leather. He stood by the window, his profile silhouetted against the city lights. "Why?" he asked, his voice low and rough. "Why did you save me?" I met his gaze, my own steady despite the turmoil inside. "I couldn't just sit and watch a bad deed being done," I said simply, "no matter how you've treated me." He turned to face me fully, and in his eyes I saw something I had never seen before. Awe, a genuine, unvarnished shock. "No one," he began, then stopped, clearing his throat. "No one has ever been that kind to me." He took a step closer. "The doctor told me," he said softly, "that you're pregnant." My breath hitched, so he knew. He continued, a faint flush on his cheeks. "And I was, jealous when I saw that man Sam with you. It was an ugly, possessive feeling, but I felt it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, delicate object, a single teardrop-shaped earring dotted with tiny sapphires. "I found this," he said, "on my hotel pillow the morning after." My hand flew to my bare earlobe. My mind skipped, rewound, connected the dots with the force of a lightning strike. The mysterious stranger, the hotel, the cologne, it was him. It had always been him. A sob escaped my lips, and the tears I'd held back for so long finally fell. If you want me to not keep the baby," I stammered, the words tearing from a place of deep shame and fear, "I would understand." He crossed the room in 2 long strides, his hands coming up to cut my face, his thumbs gently wiping away my tears. The gesture was so tender, so unlike him, it made me cry harder. "Hailey," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Is it mine?" I could only nod, my tears a silent affirmation. He let out a breath, a shuddering sigh that seemed to release all the tension he had carried for years. Then he kissed me. It was not a kiss of passion, but of promise, of regret, of a profound dawning hope. "I want you by my side, always," he murmured against my lips. "Someone who wants my well-being. I'm so sorry. I had to ignore you, to mistreat you. I was trying to figure it all out, to push you away because you scared me. Let's start over. A clean slate, no prenup, no debt, just honest feelings." In that moment, the fortress I had built around my heart crumbled to dust. He pulled me into an embrace, and I melted into him, the past months of pain and loneliness washing away in the tide of his apology and this new, fragile truth. Months later, I gave birth to a wonderful, beautiful, precious baby boy. The sound of his first cry was the sound of our new beginning. Since that day, we have lived together, a true family. Charles is the most wonderful man and father I know, his coldness thawed into a deep, abiding love that still takes my breath away. As for my parents, the hurt ran too deep. I made the painful choice to cut all ties, finding my family now in the home I built. And Sam, after weeks of Charles's sincere, persistent efforts and a heartfelt apology, eventually came to terms with him, seeing the man he had become for me, for our son. The debt was gone, but what remained was something far more valuable, a love paid in full with a lifetime of interest.